Being 9 o'clock, I will call this meeting of the Lapeer County Board of Commissioners to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Wise?
Here.
Commissioner Zender?
Here.
Commissioner Hagedon?
Here.
Commissioner Kemp?
Here.
Commissioner Nisley? Commissioner McMahon?
Here.
Chairman Howell?
Present. Thank you. The opening prayer will be by Commissioner Hagedon, and if Commissioner Zender could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity for us to meet today. Please be with the commissioners as we do the people's business, be with the people in this room, be with our troops, be with those that are protecting the citizens of this country out in LA. And we just thank you again for this wonderful day. In your name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve or any corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Supported by Commissioner McMahon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next are the draft minutes for our May 8th Committee of the Whole meeting.
I'll move them.
Support. Commissioner Hagedon, supported by Commissioner Kemp, to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
In front of the commissioners, I believe, is the folder that contains the travel requests, grant applications, and budget amendments to be reviewed during the course of the meeting. First item are any reports from department heads or elected officials. Looks like we're going to start with the health department this morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'd like to take a moment this morning to introduce our new Environmental Health Director, Nathan Denny. He's been with the County Health Department since 2019, but, and he was a coordinator. He started as a sanitarian, worked up to a coordinator, and last February he was promoted to Environmental Health Director. He's done a great job. I've got to know him a little bit over the last couple months. He's in the field every day working with the community. He's a real good asset for our organization.
Thank you. Been playing in Lapeer County dirt since I was 2, so this job gives me a little bit of an opportunity to keep doing it. So I'm excited to keep serving Lapeer County.
Well, welcome aboard again, and you've got a challenging assignment with environmental health.
I enjoy it. I enjoy a good challenge.
Very good. Thank you. Next, I believe we have the Cooperative Extension Director here.
Morning, Commissioners. I emailed you all a couple of flyers for a couple of staff members that we have retiring this summer. I have them in hard copy, so Chris Benema, she's a food safety educator, and she has over 39 years of experience and years of service for the organization. Her retirement celebration is next Tuesday. So her last day of work is actually the end of this month, but she's got some things going on. So, and then Phil Cates will be retiring August 6th, so his retirement celebration is August 1st. So I'm just gonna pass around these hard copy flyers here. And I was gonna give an update, but who better to hear from than the actual educators doing the work. So I'm gonna turn things over to Phil, and he can give his last update on his programming, and then we do have Jared Jaborg here as well, and he's gonna give just a quick update as well.
Very good.
Good morning, Commissioners. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, finally, for the last time, and I'm looking forward to retirement in August. It's been a pleasure working with the Board of Commissioners here in Lapeer it's been decades now, so it's been great. But I did want to give a report on agriculture and some of the programming that's being done as a field crops and forage educator that covers a pretty good-sized swath of Michigan. There are some programs that are pertinent to Lapeer County and also pertinent to the farmers of this area and region. And one in particular that I've talked about in the past is a program called the Virtual Breakfast Series. It's a 26-week series that starts in March and ends in September. And every week at 7 a.m. on Thursday, in fact, I was on at 6:30 this morning, getting that going today. We have topics that range from soup to nuts. And just as an example, I'll give you one that is particularly relevant for today. About 10 days ago, in Detroit Metropolitan Airport, or in Detroit, I should say, there were 2 Chinese nationals that were detained because they were bringing what they considered a biosecurity problem for our national security. On Thursday morning, we had a virtual breakfast that addressed that and talked about some of the ramifications for our farmers, why that would be important, what are some of the things that could be done. So it's very relevant, and to me, it just gives a great example of how we can be able to shift and provide timely information that's relevant almost on a dime. And to me, that's very important because, as you know, things change fast in agriculture. We can have it too wet one day and then too dry in the next week, or vice versa. And so I had a phone call on the way down here talking about the wheat crop. And the northern part of the thumb were very dry. South of 69, they're still planting. So it is so diverse, and so we have to be able to provide information for all. But just an idea of what that series means, in 2024, I have a summary that is based on some of the things that we did a year ago. I set an evaluation out at the end of the year after the fact, and I had a 49% response rate to that survey of those that actually attended the virtual breakfast. Out of the participants, we had 5,465 live participants during the course of the year. Over 5,400 YouTube video views. 7,300 extension page views of virtual breakfast. Another 1,400 podcast participants viewing the things that we're talking about, as well as another 2,600 live Facebook participants. So we're reaching well over 20,000 people with this program. That's a big number. When you consider there's about 11,000 farmers across the state, I think the influence and the ability to reach out and provide information to a wide and varied group is certainly relevant. Well, what does that mean? Well, it was about 1.8 million acres. 99% of the participants learned something. Imagine that, okay? 37% said they had made management changes during the course of the season based on our information. Another 42% indicated they would make additional changes based on what we said. So that's over 75% had already made changes or were making changes. And what's the value? About $4,200 per farm, which represents about $4.4 million for our farmers in increased efficiency and productivity. What's that mean for Lapeer County? Well, they have an active participant list here in the county, and in 2024, 218 people participated live, and so far for 2025, we've got 82 participants that are already participated this year up till today, which I didn't count. So those are all happening, and then we have more programs that are coming up. One in particular on grain bin and manure pit training for first responders and farmers. That's going to be held up at Fair Grove in Tuscola County, but it covers the thumb area. That is for our first responders and for farmers. And as well know, if there is a grain bin incident, it's not necessarily a rescue. Many times it's just a recovery, which is tragic. We do REP testing. We have a crop and pest management update. We have soybean, wheat, and corn trials across the area. I also have alfalfa haylage trials that I'm conducting. So we have research, we have results that we provide, we reach a wide audience, and I just think it proves and shows the relevance of our programming across the area and the region. Thanks for your time. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, is it too late to add number 8 on our agenda, rejection of Phil's retirement?
I think that'd be a unanimous vote, but I'm not sure he would accept it.
On a serious note, Phil, thank you for all that you've done, and go green.
It's my pleasure. Go white.
It's been a real pleasure working with you, both as a local official and as a local farmer, and you've done great service for the people of the Thumb of Michigan. We really appreciate it.
Yes, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you very much.
To ditto that, you know, the farmers of Lapeer County definitely will miss you. And thank you for all you've done.
Like I say, it's been my pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good to see you guys again. I'm Jared Jaborek. I'm the beef feedlot educator based out of Sanilac County, but cover the state for cattle feeding responsibilities. Just a couple updates on some of the programs that I've been involved with on the animal side. You get to hear some of the crop stuff from Bill, so I'll fill you in on some of the animal stuff that I get involved with. In the fall, in partnership with some of our crop colleagues, we put on Thumb Egg Day, so it's an opportunity for our cattle feeders to actually come out and hear some talks on some of the current topics. I gave a talk on updating them on some of our current beef marketing contracts through JBS and Plainwell. So a lot of our cattle get marketed through there. We have one of the major packers in our state, so it was nice to update them, show them what some of the different pricing options are, what may be favorable in certain situations or circumstances depending on the type of cattle that they're trying to market. And then, as I've been doing for the, I guess since I started with MSU Extension almost 5 years now, we do the feedlot educational series during the winter months. So January, February, March, brought in a sponsor and speaker. We meet at Diageo's for our in-person meetings, so we have an educational session where our cattle feeders can learn about a new topic. And then that was represented by about 75% or 3/4 of people from the Thumb, so in person, maybe not surprising, again, largely participants from the Thumb region, but we also looked at available virtually, so we are getting people from other parts of the state that are interested in that information, that feed cattle as well, so that's always great to see. Some other work, particularly, I think I mentioned that we brought emergency response trailer for accidents involving livestock to Lapeer County last year. So in May, we held a training in Imlay City for our first responders. It was well attended, and then we actually delivered a response trailer in the fall. I believe it might have been in November. It was already getting pretty cool at that time. I remember it was a little chilly that day. So we brought a response trailer, Animal Control's been using that to respond to different incidents. And then we are actually going to be having another training to further support those efforts here June 23rd regarding humane livestock euthanasia. So as you guys know, accidents are sometimes animals can be compromised in those situations. So trying to educate and help our first responders make well-informed decisions. So that's upcoming. And just to stay relevant in the industry, we continue to do research. We've been doing some cattle feeding research projects at the MSU campus feedlot, looking at some beef on dairy comparisons with other types of livestock, doing the economics, figuring out how those cattle perform on typical feedlot diets that our producers are feeding here in Michigan, and figuring out what those costs are and what may be good decision to, I guess you could say. This is what you can kind of expect with these type of cattle, so that our producers are better off for those efforts. Do you guys have any questions for me?
We really appreciate the report, and we appreciate the extension service. You folks do great.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Community Mental Health Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to update you on some things that are going on at CMH and things, the way the world are happening and the effects to mental health services. So a few things last week on June 5th, the CMH board had did a resolution to oppose the MDHHS procurement process. So what that is MDHS passed, issued a press release at the end of May about an upcoming procurement process to submit for RFAs to be the new way of delivering of mental health services. So this initiative threatens to privatize the management of Michigan's public health system, or mental health system, potentially shifting oversight from local governed and county-based entities to private, for-profit and nonprofit health plans. These private nonprofit organizations could include Blue Cross Blue Shield, Priority Health, McLaren Health, and CAP. The RFAs are scheduled to go out in this summer with the restructuring of that process for October of 2026. So currently the state is made up of 10 regions, and these regions have the oversight of the CMHs within the state, 46 CMHs. They're looking to reclassify the regions into 3, so then there would be multiple bids per region for the private nonprofit sectors to come in. So why we're opposed to these processes, there's multiple reasons. I want to share a couple of them with you as to why we're so opposed. The application process that's done now forbids the current PHPs, so the current prepaid insurance health plans. They are not able to apply for this process. So you think about the individuals for the last 30 plus years that have been organizing the way the funding comes from the state to the CMHs, to the Medicaid recipients, people that know it most are not able to be a part of this process. With that being said, there is going to be potentially an immediate $5 million reduction in Medicaid dollars provided to our individuals. And that number comes from the average private health plan has a 15% overhead for administration fees, where currently the PHP only has a 2% overhead fee. So right off the top. And then the concern of a decrease in transparency. So the private nonprofit organizations are not bound by the Michigan's Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act, which leaves critical decisions about public funds and services outside of the public eye. This type of plan was introduced to 20 states previously, and they all had failed and had to go back to the plans that they were doing before. The issues with that was the lack of funding and then the lack of approval from health plans. These health plans are used to providing a medical care model. The majority of these health plans provide none or very few mental health services. So now when you're asking for a private nonprofit to then have the expertise in providing mental health services for psychiatric, hospitalization, specialty services, residential, they were finding a whole bunch of them, individuals being denied the care that they were needed, so therefore, which made them fail for the services. MAC, the Michigan Association of Counties, opposes the procurement process, and part of that is because the current funding from the state comes to each of the counties. With the procurement process, the money would go directly to the private nonprofit provider. And since Lapeer is still a department of the county, Lapeer CMH is still a department of the county, the county would still be responsible for the function of CMH, but have no oversight in the funding that the agency received. And the last point to that I want to make that I think is a huge concern of the procurement process is the relationships and the community partnerships between CMH and local law enforcement, schools, hospitals, courts, and homeless services. We have spent a number of years building those relationships with our community partners, which would now have to go to those private nonprofit sectors that would come in for that process. We were busy last week at CMH. There was another resolution passed about the mental health funding shortfalls. So the points that we were just trying to make as a board and advocating for, we're not necessarily asking for new money, we're just asking for MDHHS to make sure that they're sending out the money that's already appropriated for us. We want to ensure that the capitation rates are actuarially sound. In the last 5 years, there's only been a 6% increase in funding for core behavioral health services, which is not at pace for the current medical inflation. There have been numerous increases in inpatient, psychiatric, and residential care and autism services, misclassification of Medicaid eligibility groups, which is also resulting in a loss of revenue. We are currently projecting for a flat budget for fiscal year '26, and it doesn't account for all of these rising costs. I understand not all advocacy work is done through completing resolutions, education of the board, or community members. I understand that those one-on-one conversations are most important. I have reached out to Senator Bailey, Representative Phil Green, Jamie Green, and Greg Alexander in hopes that they will take me up on a meeting to have discussions about these things that are going on. At this point, I haven't heard back from anybody, but still hopes. I don't know if anybody had any questions about those things too.
I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I'm all for reducing the size of government, but shifting government funding from the government to private nonprofits where there is no transparency. And we've been seeing over the last several months, it's been coming more and more to light, the level of corruption that exists in this kind of this dark web of funding. And so I fully support what you're doing there, and if there's any way I can help, I'm happy to.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I just spent 3 days up at a mental health conference up in Traverse City, and that's been 3 days of talking about advocacy work, what can we do, and providing some insight as to what's going on. The last thing I just want to add that on a positive note, I attended the Mayfield Township site planning meeting last night with Jeff Van Kemp from Creekwood, and they approved the site plan for the new CMH building. So,
Very good. Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Do I have any other elected officials? Looks like we got the drain commissioner that wants to go.
Building grounds and parks. Good morning, Commissioners. Just wanted to do a quick parking update for you guys. We're still working on the Trzaskowski project, so we're still doing that. But General Squire is going to be open tomorrow. The water park will be going 7 days a week starting tomorrow. It will be open 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. We're very excited to say we have new registers this year, so we'll finally be able to accept credit cards. So that'll be huge. A couple other things going on. We're working on some events that'll be coming up, and we'll keep everybody posted with those. But one that's set in stone right now is for June 26th. We have the Lapeer Symphony Orchestra coming out, and it should be a pretty good show up there. That'll be at Trzaskowski. That starts at 7 p.m. There's a couple other events we're working on with some groups, including Historical Reacting and Squire. We're still settling the details of that and seeing if that's going to pan out, so it should be pretty interesting. Other than that, I guess the last one I have is that we're working on an updated park plan, and that requires sending surveys out to the residents, and we're working with the townships, getting QR codes sent out with their taxes so that we can hit all the demographics, and it'd be pretty easy for them to give us their opinions on where the parks are and where we're heading going forward.
Very good. Any questions from commissioners? Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Any other elected officials or department heads who wish to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, we're now at public time, and just as a reminder for those of you that don't regularly attend, we have 2 public times. This first one is restricted to those items specifically on the agenda of today's meeting. The second public time, a little later in the meeting, will be for any topic that a citizen wishes to address. Now, this morning, one of the topics on our agenda is the taxation hearing, which I will go into immediately after this public time. That will be the time to address any comments you may have about the tax issue, because you want to get them in that part of the meeting. So, does anybody have a comment about today's agenda other than the taxation hearing?
Good morning. Carol Winder, Township. I had a couple questions. The one is on the, there's one of the grants, and I believe it was on page 22 of your agenda, and it has to do with the readiness and response. And my question was, it says purchase of vaccine is allowed with this grant if MMR, influenza, and/or COVID vaccines not otherwise available in the jurisdiction. Purchase of, and excuse me, this is long, globulin, I don't know if that's, I'm not a medical person, is not allowed. And I looked that up a little bit. I know what that is. I know what that therapy is. It's also known as antibodies, and they're proteins produced by the immune system to identify and neutralize foreign objects like bacteria and viruses. And I would kind of like to know why, they're covering these things, but they're not covering the other things. And then the other question I have is these contracts that, this one had to do with the cloud, having things on the cloud. I wondered, I know that, your lawyer, legal, looks over these contracts, and I know this is so much reading because I read it, but I just hope that, there's one part in it that said something like, reasonable protection of the person's private material. And I'm just like, what does reasonable mean? So anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And when we get to those items on the agenda, I'll ask the staff to address those. Anything else relevant to this morning's agenda? Okay, very good. We'll close public time. And we'll move directly into a public hearing on the truth in taxation process. We have two people here who are experts at explaining this. Lisa Griffin, our equalization director, and Relade Barkle, who's our appraiser and has years of experience. Welcome.
Good morning. Today we have the proposed millage rates for 2025. The millage reduction fraction has been applied and the millage rates are listed on the L4029 form. The truth in taxation hearing is held so that the maximum millage rates can be levied. Today we're requesting the Board of Commissioners approve this for signature so that the taxes can be levied for 2025.
Could you give us a layman's synopsis of how we arrive at the number?
Basically, you look at last year's millage rates and then you calculate a millage reduction fraction for the county as well as all the townships and cities. That's then applied to last year's millage rate and it's rolled back essentially. And that's how it's calculated and applied to the taxable value.
So if we approve the resolution and the millage rates, then they would be basically the same as they were last year?
Well, there was an increase in the taxable value from last year, 3.1%. And then there was a change in the tax rate, or millage rate, I should say, due to that EMS being voted in August.
You're talking about the voter-approved increase
Correct.
on the EMS from last year's election. Okay. So those are the two main factors, the 3.1 that comes from the state
Correct.
and the voter-approved EMS millage.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Questions on any of the commissioners for the director?
Thank you. So what we're looking at is almost a $500,000 increase in the property taxes across the county. Am I reading that correctly?
Correct. So last year was 6.8005, this year is 7.0604.
Okay, and this is the maximum that we can levy,
Correct.
but we don't have to levy the maximum.
Correct.
So what happens if we reject this?
If you reject it, you do have to levy a millage.
Sure.
So you would have to
Come up with a new
come up
number.
with a millage rate.
So we could just say, we're not going to raise the taxes, we're gonna keep them where they are.
I believe the lowest you could go is the base tax rate formula, which would, but I would have to verify the information, but I believe that would be the lowest you could go, would be the base tax rate.
Do you know what, would that be a reduction versus last year? Would that keep it the
It
same?
still would be a slight increase. I think we have it here. It would be 6.8478 is the base tax rate. Which should be in some of the information in your packet if you have.
It's in the packet. Any other questions from commissioners for the
Mr.
director?
Chair?
Commissioner Wise.
could you explain to everybody why, I mean, the authorized millage, and particularly, I mean, the EMS and the veterans was just in August of last year. It's already permanently reduced by MCL 211.349. Can you explain how it gets reduced from what the people have voted for just less than 12 months ago?
It depends on the timing of the election. So at that time of the election, it would still get rolled back. So if it was later, I believe, do you know May 1st? May 1st? So if it was, as of May 1st, it wouldn't get rolled back.
So even though the people vote for a specific millage, it's already gonna be reduced.
Correct.
Any other commissioners have a question for the director while she's up here?
I do.
Call her back again, of course.
So who tells us what, is a state law that says we can't reduce the taxes? Or?
Lower than the base tax rate?
Right.
That, I'm not sure. I'd have to get back with you. Do you? Yes, I mean, it is part of the Headley Amendment as far as like the base tax rate being the lowest and the millage reduction fraction rollback being the maximum allowed.
So the lowest, I'm sorry, what was the number that's the lowest that we could, that you're saying that we could?
6.8478.
So that's about a little over 2 mils, and is that correct?
From
Versus
last
what?
year?
Or-
So last year was 6.8005.
Okay,
The maximum is 7.0604, and the base tax rate is 6.8478. So it's still an increase from last year, but not to the maximum.
I'm not seeing this clearly laid out in the information that you've given us.
Okay.
I don't think the base tax rate is in any of that.
It's not in the.
And I'm not, okay. So what you're asking us to do is to raise everyone's taxes across the board.
I'm not asking you to do that.
Well, I mean, you just said, you know.
I just calculate the number. That's
Right, okay. I definitely don't support this. I don't think that any of our constituents would want to see our taxes go up if they don't have to.
Well, there was a vote of the people to increase the.
Sure.
The EMS, but I
Right.
mean, all I do is calculate the number.
Right. No,
Present.
I'm not saying personally, but, so if we were to reject this, then would we put forward a motion today to go with the minimum? Can we table this and get more information about what we can do?
I believe there's a levy in July, so they would have.
Okay.
Yeah, we
So
have
this,
to do it by
so our backs are against the wall, so we, you know,
I mean, the truth in taxation, this is the time that it's held.
right.
Or it's held during the budget process, which most counties do. So you would have to have a number that you would be levying.
Okay. So it sounds like the minimum, what you're talking about is a little over, a little over 0.2 mil. Is that correct?
Well, the last year's was 6.8005, and that is 6.8478.
Okay.
Any other
So
commissioners?
I just want to be very clear. So what we're voting on here is essentially a voluntary 0.2 something mil over what we need to, according to the, what.
What I'm presenting is the maximum allowable.
Right.
You can vote.
So that's the maximum allowable, but that's not what we need to do. Like, there's nothing that says that we have to do the maximum, is what, and we can do less, and then leave it up to the county manager and the budget, and the financial department to figure out how to make that work within our budget.
Yeah, I believe though the Board of Commissioners has to vote on that as well. We have to complete the
Sure.
4029 form.
Right. Are we gonna have the opportunity to provide further comment as we go before we
Absolutely.
vote?
Before
Okay.
we vote, right now, we're just in the phase of any relevant questions for the equalization director. Commissioner Wise.
Mr. Chair. In terms of the state law, 1981 is when they passed the truth in taxation. And basically what the state wanted to do was put it on the backs of the local governments to say if your taxes are going up because of increases in valuation, we're gonna make the local people have to take a vote on it. That was the state's response, because they got tired of hearing complaints about it. I mean, we still, even the max we can do is still much less than what the voted millage is. I mean, we're already below what the people have voted over the years for their millage.
Correct.
And so we're not raising rates, we're just keeping the rates at what they were last year.
Right.
With the exception
And
of.
the amendment gets rolled back to not collect more than the consumer price index, basically, in basic terms.
But we already have the protection of, I mean, your assessed value other than new construction, new improvements, are limited to inflation or 5%, whichever is less. And of course, one of the problems with the county is over the years, so much of new construction, particularly commercial, has been in the TIFAs and the DDAs, where none of that money goes to the county anyway. Yeah, and we still have to fund county operations. And we're not raising rates. We're keeping the rates, if we vote for this, we're keeping the rates at the same as they were last year, with the exception of EMS because there was a slight increase.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? Thank you very much. We may have further questions in the course of the meeting, but we appreciate the explanation.
Right, thank you.
Okay, we're now at the public hearing portion of the agenda. So anybody that has a comment as to the truth of taxation proposal is welcome to address the board at this time.
Morning.
Good morning.
John DeAngelis, Metamora Township. I would ask you not to raise their taxes. My kids are always on me about selling my house, getting a smaller house. But if I bought a house half the size I have now, I'd probably still pay more in property taxes because of proposal A and the Headley Amendment, how all that works out. We're putting a big burden on young people who go to buy homes because they're taking a lot of our tax burden. And all of us older gentlemen who've been in our homes a long time, we don't pay very much. Which, I'm not complaining about that part, I'm just concerned about our kids and our grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment for the public hearing portion?
Good morning. Nice to see you all. My name is Rose Navarre, and I'm from Attica Township. And Jacob Leroy cannot be here because of a work commitment, so he asked me if I would speak on his behalf. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jacob Leroy. I am a homeowner, and I live at 106 Daly Road in Mayfield Township. I am unable to attend the meeting this morning because I am at work obligations. I understand you plan to increase property taxes by $0.5 to cover a shortfall in the county budget, the budget you approved and control. I believe the cause of the shortfall is either due to poor management of the budget or federal or state grants that did not come through. Either way, your decision to further burden me as a taxpayer is something I oppose. I do not vote to increase my property taxes. Is this the Republican platform of the 7 Lapeer County Republican Commissioners? Gender ideology, books in the children's section of the public library, and higher taxes. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else wish to make a comment at this point?
My name is Renee Klaus. I own a property in the city of Lapeer, well over 3 decades. My question is, exactly when we pay our property taxes, what benefits do we receive? I understand police, fire department, snow removal, but we pay our own garbage, sewer, water. I have a better lawn growing in my side street than on my property. And I know when I read the paper, I see constantly comments from city residents frustrated with the condition of our streets. I have people that come and visit our town. They're like, what is going on? Why do you have this town and your streets look the way they do? Am I incorrect that something with your property taxes should be part of that, with maintenance? So when I hear that there's an increase, I'm wondering what value for the money that I pay am I going to receive? Because as I said, I'm a long-standing property owner. I'm just curious. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to comment at this time?
Carolyn, Marathon Township, I ask you to vote no on this increase or whatever. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Okay. Seeing no one else, I will close the public comment portion of this hearing. In order to proceed with the discussion, we need a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Zender.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Kemp. Okay, now we have discussion among the board members as to the proposed resolution. I would like to attempt to respond to the lady who spoke about where the money goes. First, much of what she commented on are city of Lapeer obligations. We're the county. We have nothing to do with what the city spends on its streets or how they handle garbage collection or so on. Very relevant comments, just so you know, none of what we're talking about will impact you as a city services situation. In terms of the bigger question of where does the money go, there are a number of things that the voters of Lapeer County have chosen to approve to levy on their tax bills. They have voted millage for Suncrest, our convalescent facility, emergency medical service, our ambulance services, senior citizens, the services they receive, law enforcement for the whole county, police and prosecutor, and lastly, veteran affairs. Each of those categories are within this. Each has been approved by the voters for a millage levy. Now, there's a slight rollback because of constitutional requirements, but today's discussion has to do with whether we roughly maintain the levies as previously approved by the voters. That's I'd like to respond to that lady so she knew that you may want to address many of those concerns to the city commission. I share your frustration about the bumpy streets in the city, even though I'm a township person. Any other commissioners that wish to comment?
I would like to.
Yes.
I think that, and we are in a county of declining population, and yet our government continues to grow. And I think that that is a recipe for absolute disaster. Part of the reason why the county of Lapeer is attractive for a lot of people to live in is because of our lower tax rates. I mean, really, the two things that we can control is our tax rates and our schools. And within the county commission, we have no authority over the schools. So really, the only thing that we can control that really has a direct impact on the attractiveness of our county is how much we tax our people. And I think that if we continue to grow, and I've been here now 6 months, and we get every meeting we get new proposals to spend more money, and these decisions are often made before they're even brought to us. Like it's something that it's always been an automatic yes vote, and so the only way that I see that we can begin to control the spending and rein in the spending and the growth of the government is to start to cut the taxes and then to find the way to live within our means. I don't see any other way to do that. And so if this is an optional tax increase, you can say that this is, at least to an extent, and I don't fully understand the minimum and why there is a minimum. I don't understand why we as a county commission can't decide, hey, we're gonna actually lower our tax rates, which I'd like to see in the long run. I'd like to see, I'd like to say, okay, next year, let's set a goal of reducing by $500,000. I mean, that's what I'd like to see, and let's figure out in the budget how we can do that, and let's work together over the next year to do that. This isn't an extreme position. And this is a very rational, common sense, conservative position to lower our taxes. And I think that this is something that, and it's not just conservative. I mean, this is something that I think the vast majority of our constituents across the county would agree with. That they'd like to see not just us allowing them to keep a little bit more money in their pockets, but also to rein in the growth of government. I think that there's a spiral of doom that's coming to us if we continue to grow our government and our population continues to decline. The only way to continue to fuel that growth in government or even keep it the same is to increase taxes, which is going to repel some people and cause the growth or the shrinkage of our population to increase, and then we have to tax them more, and then more people want to leave, and this is an absolute recipe for disaster. And this isn't just, I'm not just imagining this. I mean, this is something that's been well documented and studied across the country. So I absolutely am a strong no on this, and I think that we should put forward a motion to do this instead at the minimum that we can do it now, and set a goal for next year to find the way to actually reduce the property taxes that we're levying on our citizens.
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Clarification. So the difference between the millage reduction fraction and the base tax rate is the 3.1% CPI. The commission you can go lower than that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So we could actually.
Wait a minute, it's not your turn at the moment. Commissioner Kemp has to be recognized next.
I just wanted to clarify a statement of fact here. Actually, since 2020, the county's population has increased very slightly, albeit, but about 0.6%. So we're not in a declining population, just for the record.
Any other commissioners have comments? Commissioner Hagan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, truth in taxation was passed unanimously the last 2 years. I know for some of you that are brand new to the board, like Mr. Kempf, just wanted to say it was a unanimous vote the last 2 years, 7-0, and we did the same thing, so.
Commissioner Zender.
So I guess my question would be to propose to my colleague is if you want to lower the taxes for next year, then in budget hearings that we have coming up, we need to find a way to cut spending. Even though everything costs more today than what it did last year, it's amazing the inflation that's taking place, and I don't know how many people realize. I mean, a patrol car used to cost us like $45,000. It's like $65,000 now for the same 4 wheels. So everything goes up. You either have to make cuts, and that means cutting services. That's the only way to do it. The people don't want the ambulance cut. They don't want the sheriff's department cut. All that sort of stuff. So we need to figure out a way where we're going to cut to make those savings if that's truly what you want to do, okay, and I'm not opposed to that, but the time to do it is in budget hearings, not here. Thank you.
Do you want to follow up with a
Yes,
comment of any
yeah,
kind?
thank you. I think, we could argue over over what time window our population is declining. But I don't think that that's what this is really about. Yes, I do believe, I strongly believe that we need to, it's not gonna be easy. I mean, but I think that we either be proactive about it and say, okay, let's find the way we have a great team that has been building better and better efficiency in how we do things across all of our departments. And it's not going to be easy. It absolutely is not going to be easy, but I think it's important and I think it's good. And so, yeah, things cost more and it's gonna be painful. But ultimately, and I think we all see this, especially with the federal government, but it's the same thing here. There's hard decisions that need to be made. We either put our big boy pants on and make those hard decisions now and those painful decisions now before they're forced upon us, or they're going to be forced upon us in the future. I don't think that this is doom and gloom stuff. I mean, it's called dollars and cents, and so I don't believe that this is an extreme position. I understand that the timing's not great, and this also was kind of, I haven't seen any other opportunity to say, okay, this is where we need to plant our flag, and I think that doing so with the tax rate and saying, okay, we're gonna levy a little less, and we could say, no, we're not going to. We just learned it. We can say, no, we're not going to raise by $0.5 mil. We're going to keep it at exactly where it was last year, and that means about $2.1 million, which is about 1.5% or so of our total budget, and we figure it out. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And I don't know the way. I don't have the answers. But it's something that I think we need to work together to figure out.
Very good. Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Kemp.
As a commissioner that sat on this board when 2008 recession hit, and it was truly doom and gloom. It really was. And taxable values, which obviously are what set the taxable income to the county, just plummeted. This board had to make some very, very, very difficult decisions. Ones I hope we never have to make again. Now, I believe that when we quote unquote put on our big boy pants is at budget time. That's when we really take a look at the budget. That's when we say, okay, this is what we want to reduce, this is what we want to keep the same. We can always come back and adjust lower, I believe, the taxable, the millage rate that we actually assess. That we do have that power as we move forward. So I think the time to do it is to do it with a clear plan, to do it at budget hearings, if that's what you want to do. If that's the goal, is to reduce the taxes, let's put a plan on the table. Let's just not say, oh, we're gonna do this, then we're gonna figure out a plan later. I think that, quite frankly, is irresponsible. So, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. I'll make my comment and I'll call for roll call vote. One thing we need to bear in mind, which we're all very proud of here as a conservative board, there are 83 counties in the state of Michigan. We are 79th. We have virtually the lowest tax rate in the entire state of Michigan among the 83 counties. So this county and previous boards have not been profligate. The other comment I have is that most of this millage has gone to the voters of Lapeer County and been approved by the voters. I don't view it as my job to tell my voters that they have made a mistake and that they should not have voted these taxes for veterans and law enforcement and seniors and the other things they voted for. Lastly, I do think there's great merit in what Commissioner McMahon and Commissioner Kemp have pointed out, which is we really ought to marry the budget process and the tax levy process to get the big picture of what is possible or what is not possible. So I would encourage the administration going forward to sort of develop a plan as to how we could do that and address these issues, because they really ought to be looked at simultaneously. With that, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll on the resolution?
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagedon,
Yes.
Commissioner Kemp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely, Commissioner McMahon,
No.
Commissioner Wise,
Yes.
Chairman Howell.
Yes. Thank you, everyone that's interested in that issue. Moving on to a more mundane issue on the agenda. We have a request to replace a copying machine in district circuit
Just an
court.
easy request.
We appreciate you bringing a non-controversial item
Yeah.
in front of us.
We just need a new copy machine. Our contract was up with the old copy machine. We are requesting a new copy machine. It's actually a little less money, so that part is good.
Commissioner Wise.
Let me just ask a couple questions. You're saying will cost approximately $172.60 a month. The contract says the monthly payment is $143.40. I presume the difference is an estimate of how many copies
Yes,
are made a month?
yes,
And this is a 5-year with no increases?
correct.
CPI goes through the roof, there's no increases, where your prior one did have annual?
Increases every year there was an increase. They're estimating, 4,000 images, $29.20, so an estimated total of $172.60. They won't always be making that many copies in the circuit court.
But that's why the difference between the
Yes.
actual payment and what your, on your RFA it says?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And just so we're clear, there's not gonna be any tariff costs added, in the future?
They
and-
told us none, that there will be no other cost. It will be locked in for 5 years. And this is the same company that the other courts we've used, district court, probate court, and I believe criminal court is there also.
Yeah, it's like we are, as our other contracts are expiring, we're trying to switch everybody over to this new company. It's a better contract.
Well, it's not a new company, it's been around for a long, long time.
And with us.
Yeah, it's a new contract.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Kemp.
I guess this is more of a question for administration. The county used to have relatively a standard out clause that we put into all contracts. Do we still do that, or is that a?
Yeah. So I'm very big on that, and pretty much every contract that we do, I make sure that we have an out clause, and then we don't care as much about the details, because we know that we could get out if we have to. I started visiting back to the copier contracts, because they were not reviewed by administration or by corporate counsel for a few years, and we have now gotten corporate counsel involved in the process. Our first round of agreements with this company, that was not done. Now that we're looking at it, the out clauses will be included going forward. And copier companies are very, they're not very flexible. So basically, our agreement with them, we don't have an out clause because they generally won't give us one. But we are working with them behind the scenes to try to work out something. Our corporate counsel has been in touch with them, and we're trying to get something to be amended, like retroactively back to the 4 or 5 contracts that we currently have with them.
I'll give you some ammunition. Mr. Chairman, I would move this contract with the inclusion of a standardized out clause from administration.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I just have a question. Do you have a like timeframe for that out clause that you prefer? You don't care, like 90, 60, 30? Doesn't matter, okay.
So I have a question regarding that, because these are expensive pieces of equipment, and I don't think they're gonna say, you know, we're gonna lease this to you and we're gonna give you an out clause of 90 days. I mean, if you have a $8,000 piece of equipment, once it's put into a facility, now it is a used piece of equipment, and the value of that drops significantly.
You know, I guess I just have to go back, I'd have to go back and lean on my experience as chairman of properties for 20 years. We just standard put out clauses in every single contract, and I don't think we had, I can't remember one situation that at the end of the day, they said, nope, we're not gonna do it if you would put the oil clause in. I don't remember one time that happened. They always put, because they want the business too. And they know we're going forward in good faith, and, you know, unless something, we did have situations on copy machines, I think, Doreen's not here, but she could talk about it, where literally they didn't work, which seemed to be 90% of the time. And I think we did exercise an out clause on that. I think we went back with the same company on a different machine, and worked it out in the long run, but I think it's good not to get locked into a 5-year contract on a piece of technology that.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just not sure that it's possible with that.
No, if they absolutely refuse, then I think it needs to come back to the board.
Yeah, on the technology side, if I could interject.
Yes,
On the
please.
technology side, it is very difficult to get an out clause. What I tend to be able to negotiate is that we're able to cancel out before an automatic renewal. So with this company, it's been back and forth, and we haven't been able to come to an agreement yet. Pretty much for the reason for what you're saying, they're investing the equipment into the location with all the supports. They want to make sure they at least get that money back. So I usually find, I don't know if that would be acceptable, but what I usually am able to negotiate in a case like this is we're able to cut off the 5-year guarantee, and we're able to get out by a certain time period. I usually try for the 30, 60, or 90, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
Okay. Any other discussion about copy machines?
I wanna make sure that we're gonna have a copy machine in the circuit court. I don't want the judges coming to me saying, where's my copy machine?
Okay, moving on to the district court. And community corrections.
Yes.
Community corrections grant.
Requesting to apply for the grant. Mr. Stevens is actually on vacation, so, this is just requesting that you.
We didn't vote on it.
Oh, you didn't vote on the copy.
You didn't vote on the copy.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did. We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
My apologies.
Any comments, or is there a motion?
I will move to apply for the grant for community corrections.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. So much for the courts for this morning. Okay, we have several items from the Health Department. So we have Director Jim Henry here to explain those.
Good morning again, Commissioners. I have several requests today. The first one is to accept a one-time grant from Department of Health and Human Services in the amount of $74,480 for emerging threats. The grant, it's one time. We were just informed about it, and it's to offset some of the federal budget cuts that we were affected by. So it's pretty much for any service that we provide that would be considered a threat. So, for example, if there was a contaminated well, or a failed septic system, or if we had a measles case, any of those type of services, this would be available for. Our staff time would be covered.
I'll move it for discussion.
Okay, there's been a motion, there's support.
I-
Moved and supported by Commissioner Wise. Open for discussion.
I just had a question. So is this, and I'm a bit confused on this, is this, they grant, or if we get the grant, they award us the money, and then we hold it in perpetuity until there's an.
No, it expires on the fiscal year.
So do we apply as we go along if we have a threat, or how does that?
No, we invoice the grant to the state. So it's available to us, and we just have to use our time towards it. And whatever supplies or services that we provide, we have to basically bill our time and services for it.
Is this a scenario where there's a budget line in the state when it's gone, no matter what county uses it, it's gone, or?
it's gone.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if we don't use it by September 30th, it's gone. It doesn't carry over.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner McMahon.
Yeah, so there's a list of allowable expenditures. Are these things, I mean, is this, you said that this is to cover a bit of a budget shortfall because of federal cuts. Is this stuff that we're spending money on anyways? You know, and then they have reporting requirements regarding measles and stuff. I mean, is this, so, you know, is it something that can just apply to the budget, or is this going to be, you know, is it actually going to cover things that we're not spending money on right now anyway? So does my question make sense?
It does.
Okay.
We're already spending the money, our budget, on these services. For example, we had some close contacts with a measles case in Macomb County. We did investigation of that to make sure that they weren't positive, they weren't symptomatic.
Okay.
So that we could bill this budget for those services, which would normally been billed to a communicable disease budget.
And is it in roughly the same amount? I mean, it's, I mean, is this about what we would spend in a year anyways, the $75,000 on these types of expenditures?
No, we would definitely spend more.
Okay.
Commissioner Wise.
It talks about using it for staff time. Is there certain staff time that it can be used for as well?
There is. So, for example, if Nathan's staff were investigating, for example, a contaminated well, that could be considered an emergent threat. Or even a failed septic system, which we see all the time. So if we're responding to a failed septic system that could cause a threat to the neighbors, we could build this grant for that. But so for even for Lyme disease, for example, for ticks and mosquitoes, and looking into how we can control that, and education to the community on how to prevent Lyme disease, those type of things, education.
So basically, this is gonna help to offset what the county otherwise has to pay to the health department.
Yeah, some of the grants that we lost through the federal government were related to these specific items.
I have one more question. What is PFAS?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You gotta go to the chairman.
I apologize, Mr.
No
Chairman.
problem. You have the floor now.
Thank you. What are PFAS? It's referenced a few times in here.
It's a contaminant that's found in groundwater. It's found in groundwater, and it's a polyfluoral, I forget what it is, but it's a fluorine and carbon bond that's great for industry. It doesn't break down, so it's used in a lot of industry applications as a lubricant, but it's also used as like a leather treatment, waterproofing. So it's found everywhere now, and it's a carcinogen. So we have one site here in the city, but we don't have any sites outside of the city. So if you're using groundwater as your drinking supply, as your drinking water, that would be a concern.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have a question or comment? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. We're on to item B, renewal of the software agreement.
This is a request to renew our software agreement with HealthSpace. We've been using it for many years for environmental health services. Nathan is very familiar with it. I've used other softwares, but HealthSpace is one that we use here in Lapeer. And it's for inspecting, permitting, data analysis, our database. HealthSpace is a very reputable software company. A lot of health departments in the state use them as their softwares. It's $9,000 annually. We're looking at, we just had a demo from Fetch to come on board with what the peers are already doing with the GIS. They also have a software system, so they did a demo for us, and we're really considering looking at using more of a GIS-based software. But this would, so they requested that we renew it for 3 years. We didn't want to. We want to renew for 1 year for $9,000 instead of the $27,000. So we can opt out if we decide that the other software is better, and it's less expensive. The fetch software would be less than this $9,000. Okay.
Commissioner Zander.
So, do you know what we paid for this last year? Is it gone up?
It has. It was $7,500 last year.
So it went up $1,500?
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at alternatives.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Wise.
Do you know how long we've had this vendor? I mean, I know you're relatively new, but
I think it was 2019.
We've had this particular software since 2019, but previously we had another version of this software going back 2013-ish. We've had it for quite a while.
are there multiple vendors who can have software that works for the health department?
There are. Yeah. There's a handful in Michigan, and some are much better than others. And the Fetch platform that Treasurer Dana Miller presented, they also have software for environmental health. And it's very compatible with what the county's doing. And it would be closer to the $7,500 than $9,000 annually.
Is there a commissioner ready to make a motion?
I'll move it. I'll
Moved by
support.
Commissioner Kemp, supported by Commissioner Zander. Any discussion? Yes.
Is it possible to just go to Fetch now and start integrating now, or is it something that would require significant time and resources to ramp into that and cause downtime?
Very, very quickly. They're on board. They're ready to go. They want to develop their software and with multiple counties, and they're actually one of the top ones considered by most.
So if it saves us money and it's compatible with the GIS and it has all kinds of other tools for you, I mean, wouldn't it be better just to go with that? Or is there a reason why you chose to bring us this now?
We have to renew it for a year, at least, but we had a demo 2 weeks ago, and they basically offered to move forward with it. So if we renew this now, at least we will be covered until we can get that other software implemented. We could definitely move forward as soon as possible. One of the things that we're working on right now is getting all of our files digitized so they can be easily incorporated, all our historical records. Everything that we are doing now is all incorporated into HealthSpace, and that's a pretty easy transfer. So it wouldn't be too difficult to do. There'd be a lot of, I think, training, because it's a very different platform. So the staff training would take some time, but it's like anything else. It wouldn't be too complicated.
So you said that we have to renew this now. Can you explain why we have to do this now? Why we have to renew for a year with them now?
We have to have the software. We would have to use it. If we don't continue to have our agreement, then.
So if we voted today to go with Fetch instead of with this, what would happen? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Then they wouldn't support our software, possibly. They wouldn't support what we're doing now.
I see. So, and there would be downtime for some amount of weeks as we're transitioning. Is that?
Yeah, I think the contract expires June 30th, and we wouldn't have time to. There's a significant amount of data training. We just wouldn't have time to do that in less than a month.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item C, Adventures in Candyland.
Adventures in Candyland. This is an event hosted by the health department. It's for getting children ready for school. So this is held at Rhoda Park, July 29th from 10 to 2. The children 0 to 5 siblings are welcome. But what we do, our hearing and vision techs will be there. We will do lead screening, look at vaccination records. If they need their immunization, we can provide that. It's not required, but we can provide that if they need something. It's supposed to be like Candyland, the big board game. So they go around from table to table, and they collect they play games. So there's prizes at each one of these tables. And then at the end, they present their card that they went to all the tables, and they get an ice cream. And we're requesting to accept the $2,000 grant from Lapeer County Community Foundation for those supplies and refreshments.
So moved. Support.
Okay, any discussion? Very good. I'm pleased the foundation is providing the funding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes.
Thank you.
And last one for Health Department today, canteen services contract.
Yes, sir. Another canteen services, they provide our meals. We contract with them to provide meals for our senior programs. They're housed in the Lapeer County Jail. They also provide the meals for the inmates. Their prices are the lowest that I've found. The menu on the package shows the prices. They want to raise their prices by 12 cents per meal. Most of those meals are paid through by BAAA. We get reimbursed for those meals, and we get reimbursed through BAAA, and then we pay canteen. The meals that they provide are good quality, and there's nutrition standards that they have to meet in order for us to be able to provide those meals to our seniors. With all the cost, what they presented to me when I met with them is that with all the inflation, the costs have increased for food and their supplies to make the food, that they think 12 cents per meal is reasonable. They haven't had an increase since March of 2022. So it doesn't seem unreasonable to me that they made this request. So I mentioned that I would bring it to our board.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by, supported by Commissioner McMahon. Any discussion on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Will VAAA be able to increase their funding to cover this increase in meals?
Yeah, my understanding is one of the things we work with VAAA is our, we can request it, increase our reimbursement rate. But that's done annually. So I talked to VAAA about that, and when they send their contract, we can negotiate at that time. And that's going to be in July. So I think we can negotiate with VAAA to increase our reimbursement to cover the costs. That's what we're going to try to do.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Got a long agenda today.
Thank you very much.
Moving into administration and finance, the next two items are legal billings from our Labor Council and our Corporate Council. The commissioners have been provided with detailed statements ahead of time, so if they're so inclined, we could combine the two
Yeah,
motions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move them both.
Support.
Moved and supported, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Finance Department, we need some explanation on this one.
So I brought our digital budget book contract to you previously. I didn't really like the amount of it, so I actually found a different company that was cheaper. So I'm asking you to rescind the motion that you approved to pay for the other one, and to sign the contract with this new company. Essentially, they're going to give us the service for 6 months for free. We negotiated that. And annually, it's $5,000 cheaper than what we previously had. It's a lot more user-friendly, so it should cut down on our staff time updating that annually as well. So it's a cost savings for
Okay.
the county.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
Is
I'll
there
move
a
it.
motion? Motion by Commissioner
Support.
Zender, support by Commissioner McMahon. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And now we're down to CMH Finance, mileage reimbursement.
I just had, two staff that had submitted their mileage reimbursement outside of the policy, timeframe. And so there's, a request to pay their mileage. They have, obviously, further discussion has been done. Our finance department at our agency provide monthly reminders to staff. So before internally giving the denial, I wanted to follow, policy and bring it here so then I can have further discussion with staff about what this process looks like in order to get the reimbursement.
Commissioner Kent.
I'll move it.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. I appreciate you bringing it to us. That is also self-discipline required of ourselves as commissioners. So if we don't get it filed in the time frame, we've got to bring it to the commission. So
Yeah.
I think it's therapeutic to have them reminded that there are deadlines.
Maybe they should.
Commissioner Zach.
So it looked like from the things that they're using their personal vehicle to go out to clients' houses?
Correct, because there are not enough county vehicles to just, I mean, each staff, so those are the two that you received are, one is a staff from our adult case management and one is our parent support partner from children's services. So, I mean, I have in the adult services, I have 20 staff in that one department. So you figure I don't, and the county vehicles have to be prioritized for transporting a person served. So on average, case managers have, 2 to 5 appointments per day out in the community based on the number of people that they have to see per day. And so it just, there isn't enough for that to happen. And you have to use their personal cars.
And insurance-wise, there's no issues with that,
Because we're not transporting persons served, correct? So
Okay.
that's where the huge liability comes in. We have to show proof that we have vehicle, insurance, and valid driver's license for all of our staff.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. I think probably need some information from either the personnel chairman
Yep.
or the administrator on this next one.
So, just so we can have discussion, Mr. Chairman, I will move that number 6 get referred to the June, what is it, 24th, 26th? Yeah, June 26th, Personnel Committee.
Support.
Moved and supported, any discussion? After, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's back to personnel. Sheriff's Department. We've had the undersheriff waiting patiently while we went through all this.
Morning. So we have two requests for actions on this. The first one is just a pass-through budget amendment for the law enforcement distribution funds that we receive from the state. We receive those funds and we pass them on to the Law Enforcement Officer Regional Training Commission, which is a training consortium that we pool our money together with other agencies, which allows us to train our officers with better quality training, and we get that training for free. And this is a yearly thing.
I'll move it.
Support.
Moved and supported, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that was an easy one.
I will let Lieutenant Dede explain.
The other one's similar to what the undersheriff talked about, but it's for corrections. And we collect a booking fee every time someone's brought into jail. Well, that's split between the state and the county, and it has to go into a training fund. Well, we submit all the money to the state, but then they reimburse us with grants and pay for all my training for Alvin deputies and corrections. And it's pretty fruitful for us because to date, we've only brought in $2,637 in booking fees, but the state's reimbursed me $5,339.59. It's almost double what we would have took in. So I can't even provide the training without the grant.
I'll move it. Motion by Commissioner Kemp, supported by Commissioner Wise. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. Do you know what's the percentage of uncollectibles on those?
On booking fees?
Yeah.
Well, high, because if they don't have it when they come in, we bill it out, but there's no penalty to not paying it. Some places will have, some counties have in the past, it was civil infractions for it, and I think that's been fought in court, so we don't know when it'll happen.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Those are two of our easiest ones today. Okay, we're now back at the regular public time. This is one open to any citizen who wishes to comment on the topic of their choice.
Morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I received an email Tuesday that kind of implies that I'm about ready to drag you fellas into one of my bucket list items. My name's Rick Cobb. We moved up from Detroit in 1953, bought an 80-acre farm there in Deerfield Township by Dory Lake Road and Skelton Road. In that property, there was a 5-acre lake, completely on the property, doesn't stray off in the state game area. Currently, if you do a Google map or something, as you fly over, it will show as Truman Lake. When my father died in '78, a couple years later, I got thinking, geez, what better way that I might try to honor his memory if I could get this damn lake renamed to Lake Todd. And you can't imagine the people I've disturbed since 1980, every city, county, township. Who owns the keys to this? Nobody seemed to know. So I've been trying to do this. Last year, I finally find out there is a Board on Geographic Names, Domestic Names Committee. It's amazing that every piece of property in the United States, if there's a holler in Alabama, it's gonna have a name, but more importantly, it'll have a distinct number to it. So that's kind of the key. So I submitted a record proposal that I would like to try to change that name to Lake Cobb. Their default position, I think, is to deny, because, somebody comes in and changes the name of Lake Nipperson, things launch off it. Well, I'll guarantee you, right now, there is no Truman Lake boat rental party store. It's all by itself. It shouldn't be a problem, I don't think, I won't make it, but if my son manages to hang around in 2053, we'll have an opportunity to be a centennial farm. Just kind of a little bonus, this last paper, our old barn actually got honored in that barn tour. So, like I say, what I think they're looking for somebody to complain or to say no, or we don't want you to do that. I've already contacted Township, and after Ray, they went ahead and wrote me a letter. Maybe I can get a hold of Kevin Daly or something, see. But I didn't know. I just didn't want you guys blindsided. But what the hell is this idiot? So if you don't mind, I ran you a care package. This is exactly what I sent those folks. I put a card on there in case you have the next question that isn't covered in it, because this is driving me nuts. I wrote this off my bucket list stuff, and all of a sudden there's a chance, maybe, So that's the whole point of my coming there. Is I just wanted you guys to see. I don't think there's a problem. I could see why if it, you know, when I contacted like the state senators and yes, anyway, everybody said, no, the DNR handles that. They don't. The DNR, well, if you go to their list, they got every list, but it's all public lakes. They don't show Troon Lake on there. So I'm just saying, there hasn't been a Troon out there since 1902. That old barn, the two guys that built it, they got their name carved in a door in there, July 3rd, 1902. Boy, that thing is just, the construction's beautiful. I had no room for the building or no use for it, but I spent 10 grand putting a new roof on it so the damn thing wouldn't go down, you know what I mean? So, that's all I was trying to get to your side, but if any of you guys think there's something squirrely, I would really appreciate you giving me a call and let me try to convince you otherwise. And if not, I don't know how they contact you there. The reason I got pushed so tight, they burned all my lead time is over. If we vote on this stuff in July, so I assume they're gonna touch base however they do it with you guys before that time, so.
Okay.
If you can help me out on that, I would surely appreciate it.
You definitely educated us on how
Oh,
the
yeah,
process
well,
works here in the United States.
They had a thing in the about the 90s. Ask a librarian. If you got a question, I drove those people nuts. There was a rumor that there was a Dr. Rona somewhere involved with this county government that knew where to go. And I chased everybody down and never found it, so. These are the guys that got the keys, and I'm just hoping to be able to do that bucket list.
Thank you very much for your dedication to this. Happens, our farm is in Deerfield Township, and we have a massive old historic barn that we've also spent way too much money in preserving because we love it. But so I really appreciate the fact that you've stepped up on the barn you're talking about.
Thank you. I say, I was kind of going, I just couldn't stand it. We were patching the roof, the wood is perfect.
Yep.
But that
It's amazing how,
110-year-old metal roof was.
you gotta have the roof, you gotta have the foundation.
There you
It'll
go.
last forever.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I be excused for just a minute?
Yes, sir. No problem. We are nearing the end. Anything else on the public time?
Good morning. Jan Watts, Mayfield Township. In 2021, the voters of Mayfield Township approved a citizen-initiated ballot proposal to reinstate the annual meeting of the electors. We who initiated this action did so to make our township officials more responsive and accountable to the residents. The measure passed by over 80%. Sorry about that. Needless to say, the township board was not in favor of having an annual meeting because each year at that meeting, the electors get to vote on 2 items: adding trustees to the board and taking action on proposed salary increases of elected officials. The board was so unhappy, they attempted to abolish the annual meeting by presenting a new ballot proposal the next year. Again, the voters of Mayfield Township affirmed that they wanted the annual meeting. Every year since, it is a struggle to get the board to establish a date. When we do have time, like maybe 2 weeks or more, we, the Mayfield advocates, have taken on the responsibility of notifying the residents of the annual meeting. We have paid for yard signs, postcards, legal notices, and have written letters to the editor and put articles in the paper. But this year was probably the most egregious action of all by the board. They met Monday night and set the annual meeting for tomorrow. 4 days. That's what they're giving us to inform the residents. The reason? Undoubtedly because the fewer that show up, the more chance that they might get their salary proposals approved. They will make an effort to muster their troops, and my guess is some of their troops already knew about the date before Monday's meeting. For 3 years in a row, the citizens, the electors, have voted no increase for the salaries of the elected officials. Residents have sent a clear message that we would like the board to be more responsive and accountable. But the board doesn't seem to get it. So maybe Friday we'll try again. Now I know you are not considered township police. You have no authority of what townships do or don't do. But two of you who sit here represent parts of Mayfield Township. And one of you actually lives in Mayfield Township. I would hope you might have some influence on what I consider to be a very arrogant and non-responsive township board. I'm also hoping by speaking today that many of your YouTube followers, wherever they are, might live in Mayfield and encourage them to attend the meeting tomorrow at 5:30 and see how well your elected officials are not serving you and your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watts. We appreciate the public service announcement. Next.
Mayor Pacheco, I live in Metamora. I just want to reiterate everything Jan said because I've watched this whole thing and I started taping all of their meetings just because I was just so appalled at how they run things. But yes, I'll say it again in case this is the only part of the YouTube that people watch. Tomorrow, 5:30, Mayfield, let every resident you know to come and vote on that because there have been some appalling things, including them being held in contempt of court on Monday here in Judge Nolan's courtroom for not paying a judgment from about a year ago. But I have a different topic that I wanted to touch on just because it struck me watching this happen here. I believe it was your May 22nd meeting that you voted on 2 interns for the prosecutor's office. That's great. Interns are great. I am hoping that those positions were opened up to the public. I know the jury board is opened up to the public, but I just hope they were advertised and such because it appears to me, based on what this young lady said at a public meeting, that this is the granddaughter of the Metamora Township Supervisor, the daughter of a trustee. Emily Chenard is one of those. And so you just have to see how that appears sometimes to us in the public. So I am just really hoping there was a process to choose that. I get that these are just internships at $18 an hour. But you can see how, there's so much nepotism in our county. That's how we run, right? It's like rain here. But it's great when people are qualified and do a great job. But if we're giving a leg up to folks in our families, you can see how that looks to some of us. So I just hope that's not what happened. I hope I'm perceiving that wrong. And I hope that we have a lot of transparency going forward. Thank you.
Next public comment.
Good morning, gentlemen. Ken Kopnick, Oregon Township. Since a new board has taken place, I watched a lot of stuff go on. I watched threats made by a commissioner from his chair that people should shut up. I watched somebody get a 17% exit raise when they were ready to retire. I told you guys before, you're known by the company you keep. And this week I have been contacted several times and people have asked me what's going on because there's still a GoFundMe page up and active. Now, I've known you a long time, Gary. You're going to understand the sarcasm. I hope it at least gives you a chuckle. I know Robert's rules. I know parliamentary procedure. I have been thrown out of here more than once because in the heat of the moment, I don't follow. But at this point, I would suggest, and I know it's going to fall on deaf ears, maybe this commission should go into executive session, and if you decide to do that, you can explain to the newbies what that is. That's when you take care of legal business and stuff that shouldn't be known to the public, and at least investigate why there's still a GoFundMe page up by a commissioner. I'm getting calls wanting to know what's going on. If the matter's over, why is the GoFundMe page still there? It just looks really bad. I know you guys hate it when I come up here. A few of you just wish I would go away, but I'm here to tell you, I'm not going away. You've known me a long time. Some of you people, there's at least 3 people that have dealt with me over the years. And you know, if I'm up here, there's a reason. I will never pull my religion, my Christian beliefs. I will not tell you I'm being persecuted by the liberals and that I'm only here because of my Christian beliefs. And this is just an observation in my old curmudgeon age. I have found that when somebody has to tell you several times in a conversation that they own a bar, they are probably just an old sot that's been kicked out of everybody else's establishment. And when somebody is caught, called out, or questioned on something and wants to stand on the Bible and claim their Christian beliefs, it's usually done by finding that they don't really have an understanding of what they're claiming to stand behind. And that's just a personal observation. Have a good day.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to add a comment?
Just saying hi again. Wanted to add a little clarification or education on the question about PFAS earlier. That for those who know about PFAS, it can be a concerning issue. So as was brought up, it's commonly called the forever chemical. So due to the chemical makeup of that product, it was used in industry for waterproofing components and firefighting foams. There wasn't a great way to dispose of it. There wasn't great concerns, but as it was mentioned, come to light that it is a carcinogen and can cause health problems, obviously, in really high quantities or heavily affected areas or contaminated areas. And Michigan's actually been one of the states that's done a fair amount of testing in different waters, so surface water, groundwater, drinking water, etc. And there's not clear restrictions on allowable levels, etc. Those are still being determined, but a lot of it is unknown what those levels should be based on how much is needed to cause some of the cancerous effects. So there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of research being done. I know from an MSU Extension standpoint, our agricultural side, we're really trying to figure out how is this contaminating some of the different products that are out there, so we can do our best to provide healthy products for our consumers, so our producers can do that. So I encourage you, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We have people that are well versed in this area and can tell you what some of the timely or new research is in that area and what's being done in those areas as well.
Thank you.
Yes, we have another public comment. Please come forward.
Hi, it's Rose Navarre from Attica again. The first thing this came up just because someone, the health department was discussing special issues, and he mentioned the measles case. I am begging you all to do some research. It's out there. And I don't have good internet here, but I was able to pull up a chart to show that the measles is the death rate back in the 50s. And measles was, all over the place, but it has its own ability for herd immunity. So if you watch the chart that's on the internet, and it was a general website, and it was actually more pro-vaccine, I'd have to say if I had to give an opinion, it was a graph, you could slide the arrow and show that the cases were 5 per 100,000 back in the 50s, and then the vaccine came out, and it went to it was already on the downward projection. And the same, if you really research the polio vaccine, it was already on the downward projection on that chart also. It was about a third of the way down. It was already in, decreasing populations. So vaccine research, there's a statement. Stats don't lie, but statisticians do. You can switch the results if you front load anything you want to prove your point. So just be careful. Measles, it can be deadly to people who are immunocompromised, people taking chemo. And right now after COVID, the vaccines, there is a question about Dr. Luc Montagnier is the Nobel Prize winner of the AIDS virus. He actually went on verbally saying that the vaccines in many have caused vaccine-induced AIDS. So, with that said, if you did take vaccines, you should be careful because you may be immunocompromised. Now, according to him, he's the scientist, I'm not. And I'm going to go back to the tax thing. I do agree with support living in your means, like we all have to do in our household. So there's a budget, and I'm so happy you guys are going to consider looking at this in the budget committees, because I think it's definitely something, I'm sure like at any household, you can cut down some things without really impacting the services that you provide. Somebody mentioned about the fungus being brought in. I think it was the Michigan State Extension person. So we have to be aware of things coming into our country. I think the national security threats are on the increase. I don't have a clue who they're all from. I don't think it's all China. But everyone just needs to have a heads up. See something, say something. And I want to have everyone pray for the safety of those who are protesting with good intentions and exercising their First Amendment rights, and pray for all the police and federal agents keeping the peaceful protesters safe and protecting personal and private property, so we don't have another 2020. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment during public time? Judge Nolan. Welcome.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'm Mike Nolan, live in Metamora. I just wanted to indicate to you all, and sometimes with public service, you don't always hear the good things. And so I just want to tell you, I'm here to commend your sheriff's department, your security people, the folks from the clerk's office. We had a big trial here last week, and we had probably 75 jurors were added to our community for a couple of days. It ended up in a tragic case. It was a tragic case. I should start with that. And credit to the family who went through all of this. It was, I don't know if you've seen anything in the paper about the case or not, but it was a tragic case. I don't want to get into the details of the case itself and have anyone involved relive it. But I did want to come and say to you that you are to be commended. You have a phenomenal staff that works for you. The security folks could not have handled it better. It went off seamlessly. The family felt safe. They were protected. You may or may not know this. We had part of the family down here using your commission chambers. They could watch it on Zoom. They were part of the process. They felt like they were part of the process, but they didn't have that direct trauma of being there to confront the person that took their family member's life. And that was the first time that I'm aware of that that's been done to that degree. It was something that I think served that family very well. It also limited potential disruptions in the courtroom, quite frankly, because what a disaster it would have been had we had a mistrial during the course of that case. It just was handled so well from top to bottom. And I just wanted to come down here and just on the record congratulate everyone involved, because we can't do the things we do in this building, in the courts, without all of these great people that are here to help us. So I just wanted to let you know that they're fantastic and they deserve a round of applause. If I can, one person, I give it.
Thank you very much. As many of you know, public employees often take lots of criticism and deal with very difficult situations. So we appreciate the opportunity to commend somebody that is doing an outstanding job. So thank you for coming down.
Thank you very much.
Any other public time comments?
Mark Lynn, Marathon Township. Bought my place about 34 years ago, and the guy who lived there before me lived there for 53 years. His name was Walter Troon.
Really?
And I know Walter, I went to church with him when I was a kid, And I know he had property over there in the Turn Lake area, because the church actually swapped some land with the DNR. And I don't know a lot of that history. But Walter's got 2 sons still alive, 1 daughter. Some of them are still in the area, several nieces and nephews, and I know a lot of them. And just kind of weird how we want to change the past. And I don't know about name changes, but don't mean much to me, but I'm sure it means something to others maybe. But thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have a public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment time. Administrator and Chief Financial Officer.
We don't have anything, thank you.
Commissioner reports. I'll start with Commissioner Wise at this end today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Start with, again, I'd like to congratulate Phil Katz for his retirement. I mean, I remember when you were the director of MSU Extension for a number of years when I was employed with District Court. Always appreciated everything you did, and of course, my wife's family were dairy farmers, and so always appreciate what MSU Extension has done for the agricultural. Couple meetings that I've gone to since our last full board meeting. On May 23rd, I had occasion to go to the Harmony Hall Open House. First time I'd ever been there. Of course, it's part of CMH, and it was very impressive. The people there, you know, whatever their mental illness or mental disabilities, I mean, just were as kind as could be, and really see what a great program it is. The other meeting I went to on May 29th and May 30th, here in the city of Lapeer, I went to the MSU Extension Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities. It was Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. City of Lapeer was the host this year. It was very interesting, keynote addresses, breakout sessions, great for the City of Lapeer, and of course, being within the County of Lapeer. Really an outstanding program put on. I think next year it's going to be in Newaygo County. They move it around. We were very fortunate to have it in the City of Lapeer this year, and was very enjoyable and learned a lot of things. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kemp.
Well, congratulations, Bill. Phil and I have had the opportunity to work together for, I think, the last 25 years. So it's been a long time, and sometimes a long road. But I appreciate your professionalism and your dedication. It certainly always did shine through, and I think we've done some good things together over the years. Those of you, and I know Brian, Mr. Zender knows very well, but Phil was oftentimes probably the lone drummer on the household hazardous waste cleanup, and has been extremely dedicated to that. And if you've ever been to one of those, it takes a lot of very dangerous chemicals. People don't have any idea what comes in there, and disposes of them properly. And that's really been, I think, one of Phil's feathers in his cap in serving this county. So happy retirement, Phil. You know, the other thing, I just wanted to make an observation, and I have the ability to look back at what came across this diocese in the past and what comes across the diocese now. And the one thing that, and Moses and I have had this discussion, that's really shocking to me, and I get it. I look at the level of technology and software that we use, and just, you know, putting together the fair and where it is today versus where it was 5 years ago. But the amount of contracts for software that we have coming across this diocese today is just staggering. I get that's how business is done today. You can't not have it. You know, your prosecutor can't talk to their prosecutors. Your sheriff's department can't do the intake and do their work without those. But it is just staggering. And that was not 5 years ago. That was, I wouldn't say non-existent, but we might have had a few come across a year. And now they're every single meeting, and they're, you know, $9,000, $15,000, $20,000 at a shot. Just an observation. I thought I don't know where that's going to end, or if it ever is. Thank you.
Commissioner McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first on the PFAS, I appreciate that clarification, and that is. I actually, when I was with the Lapeer County Tribune 2 years ago, I did a report on what appeared to be a cluster of cancer cases in North Branch, and or at least what citizens were suggesting that was the case, and there were, you know, there's all kinds of talk and rumors about you know, what could be the cause of that, but and that may be one of them. And like you said, it's a forever chemical, and so this is something that, you know, the more we can know about it and the more we can do about it, the better for everyone. So I appreciate you know, the work that our health department's doing on that. The with you know, I just as I see it, we voted today to raise our taxes, and that we didn't have to, and you know, I know that there's going to be different ways that this is going to be looked at and justified and all that kind of stuff, but I still think that the bottom line is that we raised every property owner's taxes in the county today, and we didn't need to. So, and I think that's unfortunate. I do, however, you know, I'm encouraged. Commissioner Kempf, you said that you know, let's look at budgeting for next year, and I hope that that's sincere. I hope that we can work together and set a goal of next year, not only not raising taxes, but maybe we can cut taxes next year. I think that would be phenomenal if we could all work together for that goal. And you know, I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm hopeful that we can do that. So I also want to take a minute just to talk about my legal situation, because there have been so many false allegations directed towards me, and yeah, it's finally at a place where I actually can talk about it. The strangest thing happened a few months ago, and I've talked to people all over the country about it, and nobody's ever heard of this happening, where a special prosecutor told a reporter that there were charges filed against someone where there were no charges filed against that person. I've never heard of that happening. There were no charges. And there were claims that there were going to be charges, and the paper actually printed and you know, put on the record that there were charges. And that story's actually been seen over 500,000 times on Twitter, because I have some pretty powerful enemies on Twitter, as I'm exposing narratives that are sourced from our own military intelligence community and the way that they're using Twitter to deceive Americans. So it's just it truly felt like government was being weaponized against me, and we have a constitutional right to know who our accusers are. And the interesting thing is that the gentleman that has been, he takes credit for being the accuser. He's also told me that he has done so because he was asked by several different elected officials to do so, but he won't disclose who they are. So even more, you know, this definitely feels like government has been weaponized against me, and I wonder why. Like, I'm simply trying to represent my constituents, and I'm trying to do my job the way I would want somebody representing me to do the job, and that's all I'm doing. I don't think that I'm taking extreme positions at all. I'm just trying to apply common sense to what I'm doing. But truly and literally every single accusation that's been levied against me is false. Now this whining and complaining about a GoFundMe page is just it's ridiculous. I hired Manley and Manley at a significant cost, more than 5 times what I received on my GoFundMe page. And I haven't received anything in over a month on that. And I'll take it down because it's over. But I came out of pocket significantly for that, and way more than what I've received. So everything about, you're trying to find fault, and now you're questioning my salvation. Like, this is unbelievable. You have no credibility at all. You've destroyed your own credibility. And I haven't spoken out against this. I haven't defended myself, but I think it's amazing to me how, and it's shocking. I think it's horrible that the way that I don't like claiming that I'm victim. I haven't done that so far, but it really definitely feels like government has been weaponized, and certainly it's in response to the timing that it happened just 2 weeks after I sat right here and said that said that if we had more, something to the effect of if we gave as much importance to Christian counseling for people who are confused about and children that are confused about their sexuality, as we do trying to protect materials, grooming materials in our public library, that we would be making society a better place. And so, I'm going to continue doing my job the best that I can. I'm going to continue asking questions, and I'm going to try to do so respectfully. And I don't know why that makes me a threat. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sender?
Phil, again, congratulations on your retirement, and household hazardous waste. Congratulations on the way you pawned that off on me. Well played. Well played. Emily City, at Fairgrounds, we have a spring carnival there tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. So anybody who wants to get out and do something different and eat some very delicious carnival food, check that out. That's it.
Commissioner Hagedorn?
I will echo Phil. Congratulations. I've already made my joke towards you, so I won't embarrass you further. Commissioner Wise and I had the opportunity to go down and pay our respects to Judge Clements. I just want to publicly say to his family, we are sorry for your loss. Some meetings that I've attended, also the open house out at Harmony Hall. Tomorrow, Chairman Howell and I have Michigan Works. Tuesday night, I was down over at Oregon Township. And next Monday, I will be at the City of Lapeer meeting. And then to Commissioner McMahon, I'm not here in the building every day, but I go for a walk every day, and I usually park in the back. If there's a day or two that you'd like to sit down with me and go over the budget, I'm extending that invitation to you. I'm more than willing to do that.
Thank you. I'll add to Phil's embarrassment briefly. You've done an outstanding job for decades, and I'm old enough to know you've been around for decades. But as a farmer, as a local official, you've done a great job. And what I really appreciate is you always wear the green shirt. And being a Michigan State grad, you do an outstanding job of representing our university. As was mentioned, as to Commissioner Wise and Commissioner Hagedorn, my wife and I also attended the Harmony House open house. It's an incredible facility in our county. Cheryl happens to be a guardian for a disabled cousin who takes advantage of that Harmony House, and they do wonders for people. I mean, it's really heartwarming to go down there and talk to the staff and see how many caring people there are, and what a great job they do. We also attended the VFW event on Memorial Day. They did a great job out there of honoring our deceased veterans and bringing it to the attention of the public. I was at Veteran Affairs Committee yesterday morning We may have to revisit that. We've got a couple of members who have some health issues coming up. We may have to take a look at the membership there. And then I was at Deerfield Township last night, and I would encourage all the commissioners, I know some of you do it, but it is worth going to the township meetings. We're all paid a salary, and it's an important liaison to let our township constituents know what is going on at the county and finding out from them what is going on in the townships that ought to be addressed. Last comment, there have been comments made about some of my fellow commissioners. I am never going to involve myself in their individual political decisions or their individual private situations. We are all elected by the people. We are responsible to the voters in our districts. If there is an issue, it is up to the voters of our districts to deal with us. I am not certainly going to be interested in policing my fellow commissioners. If you have a concern, you're welcome to run against us. You're welcome to recall us, but those are the remedies. Anyway, with that, I think we've covered the waterfront several times over. I appreciate the public's commentary today. I thought everybody was particularly responsible today on whatever point of view they had, and that is most helpful in these public comment periods, to hear people that give reasoned explanation as to what their point of view is. With that, I'm waiting for the last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Too slow, Commissioner Wise beat you, but you're the second. Oh, we have a.
Oh, he doesn't have to be adopted?
Yes, I resolved that. Thank you very much. Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. And now,
Greg,